I'm Micah Potts, and this is another Daily Dose. Some airlines are introducing flights to nowhere, and people are actually paying to take them. Singapore Airlines is said to be considering a new route next month, what media reports are calling a flight to nowhere. Flights that take off and land from the same place, in this case Singapore Changi Airport, may start as early as next month. Popular in Japan, Taipei, and Brunei, these things are a way to get people essentially out of the house, since we can't really travel internationally for the most part. In other news, a Chinese virologist posts a report claiming that COVID-19 was in fact made in a Wuhan lab. A Chinese virologist, this woman here, has alleged that COVID-19 was human-made in a lab in China, and she released a report on Monday that backs up this explosive claim. Dr. Li Meng-Yan, a School of Public Health, and the paper co-authored with two others is titled Unusual Features of the SARS-CoV-2 Genome, Suggesting Sophisticated Laboratory Modification Rather than Natural Evolution and Delineation of its Probable Synthetic Route. A mouthful, but basically it claims to note how SARS-CoV-2 shows biological characteristics that are inconsistent with a naturally occurring zoonotic virus. Other scientists out of California have previously published a journal article mapping out the virus's genetic sequence, which they say proves SARS-CoV-2 is not a laboratory construct or a purposefully manipulated virus. But she insists that widespread reports that the virus originated last year from a wet market in Wuhan are a smokescreen. That's quotes again. In April, Yang reported and fled Hong Kong and escaped to America to raise awareness about the pandemic, and she is said to have been hiding over fear for her safety. In animal news, a unique trait shared by tortoises and humans changes a widespread scientific belief, and that is, solo or social, faces are important across the entire animal kingdom. Apparently, human babies aren't the only creatures with an affinity for human faces. Studies in various animals, including monkeys, dogs, and chickens, demonstrate an attraction to a person's face, or at least the shape of two eyes and a smile. Recently, scientists examined whether a knack for responding to faces is inherent in solitary species as well. The answer, they claim, hints at whether or not preferring faces early in life is common across animals, a shared trait linked by evolution. And a new study suggests the answer is, well, yes. The land tortoise, this cute little guy here, genus Testudo, tends to ride solo, and that is, they go without parental care after hatching. Now, despite this lack of parental attention, moments after hatching, the tortoises are in fact drawn to shapes that resemble a face, the study finds. Researchers placed newly hatched Testudo tortoises in a box with an object at each side. The object either resembled a face, two eyes, and a mouth or nose, just like this thing here, or another shape, an upside-down face, for example. Now, the research subjects included 136 tortoises across 5 different species, and 75% of the time, the tortoises preferred the face shape. They would orient themselves toward the object configured to look like a face. Now, since these tortoises are solitary animals, the research supports that faces are in fact important to both social and solitary species, and that lens supports the notion that animals' attraction to faces evolved earlier than expected. And it also follows that evolutionarily, preferences for faces must predate the bonds of parental care. In more animal news, a perfectly preserved Ice Age cave bear has been found in Russia, even with its nose intact. Look at that thing! The perfectly preserved remains of an Ice Age cave bear has been discovered in the Russian Arctic, the first example of the species ever to be found with soft tissues intact. Really, look at it! The astonishing find was made by reindeer herders on the Liakovsky Islands. Prior to this, only the bones of cave bears have been unearthed, but this specimen even had its nose intact. The discovery is of world importance, a leading Russian expert on extinct Ice Age species said. Now, according to the team, the cave bear, Ursus spelaeus, is a prehistoric species that lived in Eurasia in the Middle and Late Pleistocene period and became extinct about 15,000 years ago, which preliminary analysis suggests that this bear is between 22,000 and 40,000 years old. That's older than my grandmother. Now, scientific discoveries, including mammoths, woolly rhinos, Ice Age foal, and several puppies, have been made in Siberia in recent years as the permafrost melts. Thanks, climate change. And in wild, huge space news, a potential sign of alien life has been detected on Venus, of all planets. Scientists said on Monday they have detected in the harshly acidic clouds of Venus a gas called phosphine, and that indicates microbes may inhabit our inhospitable neighbor, a tantalizing sign of potential life beyond this planet Earth. The researchers did not discover actual life forms, but noted that on Earth, phosphine is produced by bacteria thriving in oxygen-starved environments. Now, the international scientific team first spotted the phosphine using the James Clerk Maxwell Telescope in Hawaii and confirmed it using the Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile. Now, this is important because if it is phosphine and if it is life, it means that we are not alone. And it also means that life itself must be downright common, and there must be many other inhabited planets throughout our galaxy, and probably all the other galaxies too. Phosphine was seen at 20 parts per billion in the Venusian atmosphere. That's a trace concentration. Graves said the researchers examined potential non-biological sources such as volcanism, meteorites, lightning, and various types of chemical reactions, but none of those appeared to be viable. So the research continues to either confirm the presence of life or find an alternative explanation. NASA Administrator Jim Breedenstein on Twitter called the new findings the most significant development yet in building the case for life off Earth, and that it's time to prioritize Venus. And a new but 70-year-old theory that is challenging everything we know about the universe has come back to light. Albert Einstein, the man, the myth, the scientist, had no doubt that human beings were stuck in time like flies in amber. Every moment had been planned out from the beginning. Every action that any person took was a result of preceding actions. You had no control over your life. All you could do was observe. Whenever you thought you were making decisions about your life, it was an illusion. Your life was determined before you were born. I'm here because I am, and I have no control over it, and apparently you don't either. But now a 70-year-old theory wants to throw that into the trash, basically. David Bohm had a different theory in 1952, and it's making a comeback called Bohmian Mechanics. In Bohm's theory, a set of particles like electrons or atoms are described by a quantum wave function. The key point in Bohmian mechanics, as it stands today, is that the motion of every particle is, through the guiding function, dependent on the motion of every other particle in the entire universe simultaneously. So even though the particles themselves are local, their interactions with other particles is completely non-local. And now this theory deviates from standard quantum theory that all the positions of those particles have definite values even when not observed, described by another function which he called Q, or the guiding function. This presupposes that the entire universe of particles has a single present time. The universe as a whole simply evolves from moment to moment, but doesn't allow us to see this present for ourselves except in our exact location. Now it gets deeper and far more complicated, so I definitely suggest reading about it in the link in the description and, comment on it down below. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much again for your attention, for your liking and subscribing, and don't forget to vote in this election. Thanks again. Peace.